Hey everyone, my name is Kretz and this is the second video on vintage lenses on my channel. In previous video, if you haven't seen it, I've made a review on this particular lens, which is a kind of a bokeh monster, a Super Amerixa 135mm f2.8. And in this video, this next video, I was going to show you the test pictures from these lenses and inspect its picture quality. But there is another topic that was raised before that, and that is the lens adapter. The adapter from this M42 screw mount to modern Canon EOS EF mount. And that's what we're going to be inspecting today, because that is very important. As I told you in this previous video, I was using this lens with this adapter. This is just a nice, light, very cheap and small ring. I'm sure you see it. It says the full lead, so M42 to EOS M, to just EOS. Then it's a fine adapter, yes, and it works and it shoots, and this has AF confirmation, which is the most important. The most important thing is that it confirms focus electronically via any of your EOS cameras. But there are some issues with that, and that's why I ordered another adapter, which is this one, which arrived just yesterday to me. And this arrived in this package. This was just packed like a normal post package. So it came like this, and this came like this. So that's a nice brand package, and it says Pixco. You see this adapter, so it has some numbers on it, right? And it even says here in the corner scrape open query code, and there is a website, so you can probably go through some authentication on the website. So this must be a brand adapter. Let's open it up and see this. It's packed again, and it's of different color. It's like a metallic silver. And this is actually twice as weighty as this, twice as heavy. This is really heavy, twice heavier. And it says Pixco M42 to EF, nothing fancy, just basically the same. But I'll tell you about the difference between them. And the first difference that we can see, if we put them right beside each other, we'll see that the electronic contacts which help to operate the camera, I hope you see it, on this one, these nameless are shorter, they're smaller, and these are bigger contacts, and that is important, and in a second I'll tell you why. So you see, as well, you see that the inner circle, the inner line, is narrower here, and this is a wider circle inside, and that is important too. And why? Let's just check it out. Let's take this lens that I was reviewing in my previous video. If we open it, we see that this is a M42 screw mount, and you see there is a pin here, small pin, which operates as the aperture control for semi-automatic vintage cameras, and it doesn't work on this particular lens right now due to the reasons that I described in previous video. Just go watch it and watch how I repaired this. But we'll check this out on my other lens, which is Pentagon 135 f2.8, so it's basically the same lens but just of another manufacturer. And so there is a switch. There is a switch for manual or automatic. When I put it to automatic, the pin, you can see the pin, and if I set the aperture, let's say at f8, and I show you, and I press the pin, look what happens. The aperture closes. So you can definitely see it. Here's the pin, and when I press it, it closes, and so that's how the cameras worked. Those semi-automatic cameras worked as a depth of field preview for this pin. And when I turn the switch, then the pin makes no sense, it doesn't work, it just went down. And now the aperture is fully manual, so I have to turn the aperture ring for aperture to close or open. You clearly see it right here. Well, what the hell does this have to do with the adapters? Let's see. If this pin is open, of course, then if you turn the ring, nothing happens, because the system is automatic for corresponding cameras. And when I screw this old adapter right? This narrow inner circle, as you see, just presses the pin. The adapter pressed the pin, and now if I turn the ring, the aperture works. So that is really fine. Okay, so no matter this, the position of the switch, the aperture works. And if I put this adapter in here, let me see, let me screw it. It's heavy, it's become heavier. Then it doesn't touch the pin. You see, it's wide and it doesn't touch the pin. And so you cannot operate aperture. You see, I'm turning the ring and nothing happens, and I have to switch it to automatic, and then it works. So with this lens, which has the switch, it makes no difference. But if I screw it to the lens, which I was reviewing in my previous video, you'll see that there is a pin, but there is no switch. There are lenses that don't have any switches, so the aperture is always in this, let's call it, automatic state. And so if I screw this adapter, it clearly covers the pin, so there's no problem. And if I screw this adapter, then the pin stays the same. And so the aperture will not work at all, which is sad. But this adapter is 3 times as expensive as this one. And why is that? Why is the adapter that will probably not work in some lenses is thrice as expensive as this one? And that's because of these long electronic contacts. Due to the fact that this adapter can really be programmed. I don't know how on other brands, but on these cameras which I'm shooting with, the Canon EOS cameras for EF and EFS lens mounts, these cameras can program these adapters. I will not show you the whole process because it's not hard, but it's quite tricky and it's a little bit specific. So if you can find a video how to program these adapters on the web, just go check them out on YouTube, and if not, just leave me a comment below and I'll shoot a separate video on how to program these adapters. But today I'll just tell you that what means to program an adapter, and it means when you screw it, let's say on this lens where everything works, and then you can put it on your camera, and by manipulating some things, by programming in a way that you can find on YouTube or you ask me to show you, you can actually set the focal length and the aperture for this particular lens. As I've told you in a previous video, these adapters only convey the what? They do not convey aperture value or focal length. So these adapters actually only confirm focus. It's great and it's the best thing that they can do, but they only confirm focus. So when you shoot a file and its EXIF file does not contain the focal length or the aperture, the correct aperture value, this particular adapter, no matter what lens I'm using, by the way, I'm having a 100mm lens here, and I also have a 50mm lens here. If you're interested, by the way, I can do the reviews on all of these lenses. But this adapter always shows 50mm with f1.4 aperture, and so none of my lenses are 1.4, so that's a misleading information in the EXIF file when you're shooting. So that's definitely wrong. And these are 100, 135, and it shows only 50. But with this 3 times more expensive adapter, you can program it to the concrete, to the certain lens. So I've already programmed this lens, and so now when I use this lens with any of my EOS cameras and I shoot the pictures, then the EXIF file for this particular adapter, in my case, contains the information that this was a 135mm photography. And I've also programmed the minimum aperture for this lens, which is 2.8. And so it will not do it automatically as in modern electronically controlled apertures, but with this programmed adapter, you can choose the aperture manually on your lens, let's say f4, and then you turn the ring, the main dial or the corresponding dial on your camera to set the aperture. And so if you set the aperture to f4 on your camera and set the aperture to f4 on this lens, and then you shoot, and then your EXIF file will contain the correct focal length program to this adapter and the correct aperture program to this adapter. So this is very important, very useful, but this, you see, this is a trade-off actually. So this lens only shows 51.4 on any lens on any camera, but this can work with the pins or with automatic or semi-automatic apertures. And this one is particularly good for getting the fully correct information about your files in your EXIF file, but it does not cover the pin inside, so it only works with the lenses which have the switch for automatic or manual apertures. And of course the best choice would be to find the brand which makes programmable adapters with the cover for the pin, but I haven't looked for them and I didn't search, so I don't know if any of this exists. If you know them, just, you know, help the others, put the link down in the comments below or shoot your own video about it. So this is just a trade-off. What is more important to you, that's up to you to decide. But I'm gonna be staying, of course, with this because I want the fully correct information about all my pictures in my EXIF files. And concerning this pin, I'm just going to use the lenses with the switch. For example, my 50mm size lens has this switch, and these Pentacons have these switches. So it's fine with me. Well, anyway, make your choice. These are the adapters. This is the difference. If you want to know how to program this lens, then leave a comment down below and I'll shoot a separate video for you. But the last thing you have to remember is that if you program this adapter, you do not program the camera or the lens itself, you program the adapter. So if you adapt any type of M42 lens to it, the adapter will still convey the information, transmit the programmed information to camera. So let's say if I screw this 50mm to this adapter and put it on my camera, it will show 135 f2.8, no matter what characteristics the real lens has. So if you want to use different lenses, you have to buy separate adapters and program them separately. Well, here's just a little something to add. I've just inspected another of my lens. This is a 135 f2.8 and this is 100 f2.8 Pentacon. Beautiful lens, absolutely gorgeous lens, considering its price and its size and its picture quality. Absolutely beautiful lens, but this is a lens of a slightly older generation than this, and so it has the button for aperture control switch. But unlike this lens, which has it like turn on and turn off, I mean turn the manual or turn the automatic, this has a quite weird button. So in regular state, this adapter, as I told you, does not cover the pin. So if you turn the aperture ring, it does nothing. So the aperture is not working properly, right? Yeah, it does not work. But if you close the aperture to full, then you press this button all the way down, then the aperture closes to f22 in this case, and then you can open it. Let's say if you want a 5.6, then it is at 5.6, and then you can shoot with it. But then if you turn the ring all the way down to f2.8 and then back, nothing happens again. So be aware that there are these types of lenses which can be used with this adapter. So if I buy this adapter and program it to 100mm f2.8, it will convey the right information, but in order to control the aperture, it will not be enough just to turn the switch like on this lens. But I'll have, every time I change the aperture, I'll have to close it down to what I want and then to press the button. So that's kind of, third type of the lenses. One without the switch, one with the distinct switch on-off, automatic or manual, and this one, let's go with semi-automatic. It's weird, but that's how it works. So if your lens doesn't have a switch or have this kind of strange switch, just don't be desperate. It can still work. Just dive deeper into this. So that's all I wanted to tell you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, give me some love in the comments, and add any information that you can. If you know something more, just leave me some links or some words in the comment section before. And until then, goodbye. Paul Links out. Oh yeah, and don't forget to watch the previous video for the review of this bulky monster, and the next video for the test pictures of the picture quality of this bulky monster. Oh, sorry, I've already taken away my microphone, so I'm shooting to the microphone of this camera, and I just wanted to add a very little thing that I forgot because I don't just use it, because my lenses are fine. But with these programmable adapters, you can also calibrate your lenses, so you can calibrate the precise focusing, just like you can do on some of modern cameras. You can precisely calibrate the focusing on your lens. So these adapters, programmable adapters, are fine for three things. First, you can program the correct focal length, then you can program the correct aperture, and then you can precisely calibrate the focusing of this lens. That's what it is for. Now I hope it's finally done.